Good evening, everyone. We are live. We are live for the first night of Builders Camp. Okay, we are live. Facebook, hopefully you can see me tonight. I have several different cameras going on tonight, but I want to welcome you all. Instagram, Facebook, those of you who signed up for this free 5 days of class. Welcome, 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 welcome. I'm so excited to teach you this evening. So this is night one of Builders Camp. Let me make sure everybody can see me. If you can see me, you can hear me. Just drop a 1 in the chat. Drop a 1 in the chat. Again, this is Builders Camp. These are foundational business values, truths, and principles to help you build your business strategically without neglecting yourself in the process. Okay, so welcome to Builders Camp. Thank you. You can hear me. You can hear me. You can see me. Let me turn this a little bit. Y'all have never worked with so many cameras in life. OMG. Okay, so I'm going to give everyone some time to come on in. I just want to touch on what we're teaching on tonight. So if you signed up, you saw that in the e-guide, I explained the difference between values, truths, and principles that I'm teaching this week, right? So values are moral codes to apply at the center of life in business. So you should always be living by those values, serving by those values, doing business by those values, right? 2, truths, foundational facts that are often neglected and misunderstood in the business development process. These are truths. And we're going to get into a truth tonight. So night one is about a truth. And principles are foundational standards to build structure and systems of your mind and of your business. Facebook, let me know that you all can hear me. I am excited to see you all tonight. I am excited. So tonight we are opening up with what I've categorized as a truth, and it's called the Chief Everything Officer. Because CEO status as a solo entrepreneur is completely different than a C-level executive in a C-level suite of a company or a Fortune 500. These things are completely different, but we use them in terminology the same way without completely understanding the totality of what that looks like for an entrepreneur, okay? So it's almost 5:05. I'm going to give everybody until 5:05 to come on in. I am excited to dive in tonight. And remember, so I actually opened it up. Tonight will be the only night that will stay on Instagram and on Facebook, okay? Tonight will be the only night that the replay is available on Instagram and Facebook. After tonight, you have to sign up. You have to sign up if you want to see the replay. You can join live at 5, but if you miss it after 5, only those who sign up get the replay, and only those who sign up also get the e-guide. You have notes in there. You have the introduction to those topics in there. You have assessments in there. You have strategies in there that you will only get when you sign up, and this is free. Okay, so you're gaining all of everything, and you're not even dishing out anything. I'm receiving your time, but you are receiving the knowledge that you need to propel forward, to produce, and to progress in the marketplace. Okay. Hello, my brother is also live with us tonight from Texas. Hi. So we're going to get started at 5:05. Make sure you come on in the room. You don't want to miss night one of Builders Camp. We are talking about the real definition of CEO, okay? The real definition. And don't forget, while we're live, if you ever have any questions, to drop in the chat #Q so that I know that you are asking a question and not that you are making a statement or a comment, okay? So make sure you use #Q. And then, of course, I always say that my DMs are open for those of you who want to ask questions later or throughout the time of the teaching that you don't want to put on the live. Okay, so it's 5:05. Let's get straight into it. I see you on YouTube. I see you on Facebook. I see you on Instagram. So night one, the Chief Everything Officer, right? So we say I'm the CEO without understanding what that means and how it actually differentiates, right? So there's been a major misinterpretation of the role of a solo entrepreneur versus a chief executive officer. Major misinterpretation. Major, okay? Because the thing that we do is we glorify the title of I'm my own boss, but do you actually know what that means now? Do you know what that means? No matter what kind of job you have worked or may still be working, do you understand the totality of what it means to be your own boss? And a lot of us have not. A lot of us don't know because we step into the space and we come into it and you don't really have a clue about what you just signed up for, right? So you step into it and you glorify the title and the phrase, I'm my own boss, without knowing the character, capacity, or the contributions, which contributions for me also means sacrifices. Also knowing the sacrifices that are necessary, not to just start a business, but to remain in business, to be sustainable, right? So let's go further into this, okay? So the first thing I want to acknowledge is, one, congratulations, you're here. You own your own business. Now what, right? What's next? The first thing I'm teaching tonight is a truth because it's been overlooked many, many times. A lot of us, literally, I just got to work. I got the LLC. I did what they said I technically had to do, and now I'm my own boss. But what does my own boss look like in a daily basis? What does my own boss look like in tax time? What does it look like, right? So that's the first thing I want to acknowledge. Two, I want to remind us that saying that you are your own boss is not a reason to validate being able to do what you want whenever you want. And I know some of us have said this before. I've said it in the past 3 years, like in my first year of business. It's like, oh, I own a business, I do what I want. I'm my own boss, I do what I want. No, that's a myth. It's a myth. It's a myth. Now, eventually you do get to have that freedom of doing more of what you want and more of what you desire excuse me, guys, outside of business. But that's not the true fact that you're building on at the very beginning, right? Obtaining that freedom takes structure and discipline. And you have to be strategic in the way that you establish your company in order to even see that level of freedom. So right now, what we're doing is debunking these myths, okay? Because tonight is about a truth. So I have to debunk the myths while we're in the teaching. The truth is, you will not be able to say, I do what I want whenever I want. Not if you want your company to grow. Not if you want to see yourself be sustainable long term. Not if you want your profit to go above and beyond and be able to scale and to be able to hire people. It is not okay for you to walk around gloating that I do what I want whenever I want. Because that also tells me as a business development strategist, right? As an operations strategist, as one who literally sits down with CEOs and small business owners and strategically plans out where they should go next in order to even see a higher profit, that lets me know you have no structure. If you can consistently walk around and you've only been in business within the past year to 5 years, and you haven't seen the profit that you want, you haven't seen the enrollment, you haven't seen the product, you haven't seen it grow to a level that you've imagined it, but yet you're still walking around saying, I do what I want, when I want, because I own a business. That is not true. That is a myth. Okay? That is a myth. And you have to be able to understand that the freedom that you want, like those short work days and work weeks, the paid time off that comes with your regular job, the paid time off that you want, and eventually scaling to actually be the CEO and not the worker. All of these things take time. When you come into business, you are not the CEO. You are the chief everything officer. We are debunking myths in the classroom tonight, okay? You are not the CEO. You are the chief everything officer. You are not the chief executive officer. You are the chief everything officer. And what I don't want to see people keep doing is referring to themselves as a CEO without even knowing the totality of what that means as a solo entrepreneur, okay? Let's stop getting it twisted and let's grow, okay? Let's develop businesses that are meant to last, that are meant to remain, that are meant to sustain your life, sustain the lifestyle that you want. All of this comes from understanding the totality of who you are in your business. Okay? If you are enjoying this teaching so far, I want you to drop a 1 in the chat. Okay? Drop a 1 in the chat because I am on fire right now. I am so excited. Okay. So let's dive further, right? So let's talk about the difference between a solo entrepreneur, a CEO, and a small business owner. Okay? A solo entrepreneur is literally someone who starts their business, they build it from the ground up, and they are on their own. Okay? That's a solo entrepreneur. Those are the entrepreneurs that I serve the most. Okay? Solo entrepreneurs. This means you can have a product, you can also have a service, you can be a coach, a consultant, a strategist like me, which I do coaching and consulting anyway. But that solo entrepreneur role is different. Small business owner, okay? A small business owner can also be an entrepreneur, but a small business owner goes twofold. So a small business owner can be an entrepreneur who started from the ground up, just like many of us have, who was a solo entrepreneur at one point, but they have now elevated to small business owner because they are now also an employer. So not only did they create the business, but now they officially own the business and manage the people in it. That is the difference between a solo entrepreneur and a small business owner. I don't care what you sell or what you do. You are not a small business owner until you are an employer. Small business owners provide people with opportunities to work. A solo entrepreneur is just that. I'm working for myself. I do this for myself. I have not outsourced anything. I have not delegated anything. I am doing this all by myself. Okay. So I know we have the trending thread of small business owners check in. Don't check in if you ain't got no workers because you're still a solo entrepreneur until then. Okay. And then the highest level is the CEO. That is the chief executive officer. This is completely different because an entrepreneur is solely responsible for wearing every hat in their business, whereas a CEO is only responsible for oversight, insights, and casting vision. That has nothing to do with managing the business, developing the business, working in the business. That is not what a CEO does. A CEO is literally somebody who can come in when they want at this point. I can schedule a meeting when I want because my business is being ran without me. When your business can now run without your hands in it, you are officially the CEO. Your hands will be in it, but you won't be actively having to work and pull strings. And I have to manage things on a day-to-day basis. This is CEO status, which we all, I hope, want to be one day, is the CEO of our company. Okay. So this is what that looks like. The entrepreneur versus the business owner versus the CEO. And the other flip side of the small business owner is you can own a business that you did not start. This is why we have to know the facts of entrepreneurship and what this looks like. You can be a small business owner. You can be a business owner. There are people, prime example, who own a Fortune 500 company that did not start it. That is a business owner. Refer to yourself as the correct title. Don't just say I own a business. You don't just own a business. That is your business. For example, one of the small businesses that I do operations for, they recently sold their company so that someone else could run it. So now they are acting as founders and they still have a CEO partnership position, but they are no longer in that role. So they own the business. They started it, but now somebody else owns it too. That don't have nothing to do with how it started, how it came to be. It has nothing to do with that. So you can own a business that you did not start. So make sure you understand the difference between those roles. Okay. Our next category is going into the visionary versus the integrator dynamic. If you are one who already signed up, make sure you are taking notes in your e-guide. Okay. Take notes, take good notes, take good notes. Visionary versus integrator. Okay. The visionary dynamic is the one who literally casts vision. They're normally very upbeat, very on to the next thing. I have this idea, I have this idea, I have this idea, I have this, I have this, I have this. I want to do this. I don't know how it looks, but I want to do it. Also, often led by emotion, because when you're a visionary, it's just like, oh my gosh. It also goes into being an extreme creative, right? Or an innovator. You have these big ideas all of the time. But then you have the integrator dynamic, which is the one who, like me, for a lot of people, it's like, okay, so I see your idea, but we have to figure out A through Z of how to get that vision or that idea fulfilled. Okay, which means the chief everything officer has to act in both capacities. And this has been a thing that I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, including myself at one point. You are not just the one with the ideas anymore. Now you have to make the ideas work. Now you have to make the ideas make sense to go from A to Z. Now you can have an idea, but what's the strategy to get it out? What does it look like to plan it out? What does it look like for it to be fulfilled? These are all things that you have to do now. You are the visionary. You are the integrator who literally takes the vision and figures out how to implement it. That's what I do as a strategist, right? The vision is this, but how are we going to get from A to B, A to Z? How are we going to get there? What's the plan of action? What is the strategic plan? What does that look like for you? That's the integrator. But then you're also the employee. So not only did you make the idea and cast the vision, not only did you create how the vision was going to be fulfilled, but now you have to work every single step you just wrote out as the integrator. Now that's also your job. So as you can see, I am teaching on Chief Everything Officer for a reason, because we don't always not even always understand. We don't understand the totality of what it means to be a Chief Everything Officer, to be a solo entrepreneur, okay? So I want you, as you're taking notes and as you're listening, to start listening for those things that you know that you need to implement right away, okay? Anytime that I'm teaching, I'm always talking about ways that you can implement things right now. I'm never going to give you so much oversight and so much of a generalization that you can't use it immediately, okay? So that one thing is recognizing those roles, identifying what those roles look like for you, okay? So let's go now into the true definition of being self-employed. We've already kind of touched on this a little bit. When you are self-employed, it literally means I work for myself, which is the complete opposite of I own a business. Complete opposite. So let's use the example of a fast food restaurant. Let's just say you own a fast food restaurant and you are self-employed in that fast food restaurant, or you sell food, or you're a caterer. Like, we're just talking about food right now, possibly also because I have not had any. But listen, Let's just say you own a food company. When you are self-employed, you are responsible not just for taking the order, but for making the order, for delivering the order, for pricing the order. And that's inventory and profit. When you are self-employed and you work for yourself, you have to fulfill every role that comes with whatever it is that you do. So if you sell a product, let's say you sell candles, as someone who is self-employed, who is not yet an employer, which means you have not delegated out things that can be done in relation to what you are providing for someone else. So if you sell candles and you make those candles, you have to do the wax. You have to have the inventory for it. That means that's inventory management. That means you have to talk to the customer. That's customer relations. Billing, ordering, that's a whole nother system right there. Telling people that you have candles, marketing, another one. Branding, what do the candles look like? What packaging do they come in? Do y'all see? Listen, if you understand where I'm going, drop a 1 in the chat, okay? Because self-employment is no joke. And it gets glorified like it's cream of the crop. But then we come in and we don't realize that we are our own chief everything officer. Yes, you are your own boss. That means every single thing that your boss used to do for you, you now do for yourself. And it also means it is very, very possible for you to micromanage yourself as your own boss. So let's say you were at a company and you didn't like the boss, you didn't like the manager. Do you even know your leadership style? Do you know what it looks like for you to lead yourself and then to eventually lead someone else? Do you know what it looks like to manage yourself, to manage your company? Do you know what that looks like? Though we are in a period of the great resignation where people are leaving jobs, getting new jobs in their own sphere of influence, becoming influencers, online business developers, doing a lot of things from home. Though that is happening, we still have to tell the truth about what this avenue looks like, what it looks like to be here, what it looks like to develop a successful, sustainable business, what it looks like for success in general, which we're going to talk about in Blazing Builders Bootcamp, what success looks like on each level. What does that definition of success for you as a solo entrepreneur, right? These are all things that we need to be talking about, because I would get in trouble for saying it, but I'm going to say it. Everybody's not supposed to be their own boss. Sorry. Not sorry. Everybody's not supposed to be their own boss. And that's just the truth of the matter. Everybody is not meant to be a full-time entrepreneur. I'm not saying that you can't have a side hustle. I don't like to use the word hustle, which is why I did that. But that doesn't mean you can't start a business and run it while you work for someone else. It does not mean that. But it does mean that entrepreneurship is not meant for everybody. And what we have to stop doing, which is why I'm doing this teaching, so that people can be more trained, equipped, educated about what this pathway looks like. But we can't push people into something with the lack of knowledge. I don't mean to get deep, but that's why people perish, for the lack of knowledge. Because you did not know what you were getting yourself into, and now it is going capiche. It has disintegrated. It has disappeared completely. Okay? Let's just all take a deep breath after that one. Everybody is not supposed to be a business owner, be an entrepreneur. But this is also why I teach as passionately as I do, because for those who are called to it, for those whose purpose is attached to it, I am going to make sure that you are educated and equipped at the end of the day so that you can produce and progress in your business's development. Okay. So a couple more things. We've been on for a little while, but I promise you, these are all things that you definitely need going forward. Okay. So another level of this is knowing your expectations. Okay. Knowing what you are expected to do, who you are expected to be, how you are expected to show up, what you are expected to do on a daily basis. Because as the chief everything officer, you wear a lot of hats. And it can become very hectic. Okay? It can become very hectic. So having the expectation already set, not unrealistic ones now, because I've talked about that before too, and I've even taught on it. Not unrealistic expectations, but having expectations written out and seen for your select business, for your select business model, your business structure. What am I expected to do? What are my expectations as the entrepreneur, as the sole head of this company? Okay. And one of the biggest mistakes that is made by those who are chief everything officers is working without being strategic. You cannot afford to do that. Literally, as your chief everything officer, time is money. If you thought time was money when you was working for somebody else, time is really money now. Time is really money now. Okay? Working without being strategic is putting you at a higher risk than you can ever think of. Okay? Literally, it's putting you at a higher risk. You cannot afford anymore to work without being strategic as your chief everything officer. And when I say working without being strategic, that means without having a plan, without having your priorities in order, without having a structure as to how you will work. Okay? All of these things matter now. You are your own boss? Great. What does that look like strategically on a daily basis for me to run and manage my company? Okay? And we also have to realize that there are risks that come with being an entrepreneur. And I can say this from the bottom of my heart. I have experienced those risks. Okay? It's always a risk. You're always taking a risk. It's always a risk. But it also shows how resilient you are to build out the vision that you have been given, to build out what has been put in your hands. Okay? An example risk for me is sometimes I have to invest capital into my own company. Risk. You risk losing money every day that you own a business. You just do. It's just the truth. You just do. It doesn't mean that you don't have good branding, good marketing. It doesn't mean that you don't have expected numbers. It doesn't mean any of that. But we also live in a very crazy time. If you don't think risks are possible, let's go back to the year 2020. COVID. It was a whole pandemic. And all of the risks that anybody could ever think of for owning a business was highlighted. Especially for those who had businesses in person. Y'all really think about this. This is very simple, very practical. This is why I'm using this example. When COVID came, those who had in-person businesses and didn't have no website and didn't have no way for people to pay without cash, these little things that make you more sustainable long-term, those people who didn't have them, one of which I had to go into a company and help them establish it so they could keep running. Risk. Major risk. It's always major risk. And those risks were highlighted because it was like, oh, snap. How are people going to reach me now? How are people going to pay for their stuff now? What do I have to do now to make sure people get their product, to make sure people get their service? Right? What does that look like now? If you do not know that, Risk. You need to also evaluate your risk all the time as an entrepreneur. Every time you're about to make a decision, you need to evaluate the risk. Before you make any sudden movements, evaluate the risk. You are now the chief everything officer, which means there's nobody else in your company to blame the decision on. Nobody. There's nobody else there. Okay? Nobody. Okay. And we are wrapping up in just a few seconds. Okay? So here are 2 or 3, I may go more than that, things that you need to implement right now. Okay, here are things you need to implement right now. Literally, either while you're on this live watching the teaching or afterwards. And if you signed up, put it in your notes, put it in your notebook. Okay. Departments, roles, and responsibilities. You are the chief everything officer now. Excuse me. And you need to establish the departments of your business, the roles and responsibilities of each, well, the role in each of those departments, and the responsibilities of each role. So I basically just gave you the structure of organizing your company for free. That was free insight right there. From department to roles to responsibilities. When you write it out, I promise you will look and you will realize, oh snap, I really am the chief everything officer. I did this with one of my students, right? And she had human resource department, she had finance department, she had administration, and she was just writing out like, this role does this and this role does that. I was like, okay. So now how does that look for you to run your business? It was like, oh snap. It's more to this than I thought. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. It absolutely is, guys. Okay. Write out the departments, the roles that go into that department, and the responsibility for each of them. So your departments look like logistics and operations, marketing, branding, finance, big one. That's a big one, especially for solo entrepreneurs, for anybody, but especially for us. You have to be very strategic about your finance, okay? Because what you make in your business is not the same as what you make in your income. What your business makes is not the same as what you make, okay? Remember that. Remember that. Customer relations, human resource, administration, whatever those things are, those are departments, right? Because under marketing, you would have a role such as social media manager, marketing executive. You have different roles under these different departments. Finance, chief financial officer, that's a CFO. We have different things that go into these departments that we need to know in order to manage and successfully sustain our companies. Just because you are here by yourself right now does not mean that you will be by yourself forever. The goal is not to run all of your own companies. That's not the goal. I don't want that to be the goal for you. If that is your goal, let me know. Let's talk. Okay. But the goal is not for you to be your own boss forever. I'm sorry, not your own boss. To be your own employee forever. That's not the goal. Okay. Because you will later build teams and delegate and outsource. Okay. I also want you to answer and write out, what hats do you wear at what time, and what days in the week? Okay. This goes directly into the last thing I just said, roles. What role are you fulfilling in the days of the week? What role are you fulfilling at the times in that day? For example, on Mondays, I am strictly on marketing. That is the department that I am working in on every Monday. That means I have my time mapped out to where at one point in the marketing, I'm playing the role of content creator. I'm creating content. In another role, I'm copywriter. I'm creating the copy. I'm creating the messaging of the emails and all of that. And the captions, which is completely different from creating content. These are things that people don't know that have to be understood in order to be sustainable in business. You want your business to remain. You don't just want to start your business. You want your business to remain. You want to build legacy off of that. You want to start multiple businesses, multiple streams of income. But it takes discipline and strategy, okay? So what are your hats, right? And then I also want you to write out what roles you would eventually want to outsource. So all of this is strategic. All of this is strategic. And this is the first time I've given away, it may seem simple, but this is the first time I've given this away for free. And it has literally helped people propel to the next level in their productivity, especially, which eventually ended up making them more profitable. Because when you know what you're doing and you got a grasp on that thing, okay, when you got a grasp on what you're doing, you will begin to focus less on everything that your hands are in and more ways to make money. It's like, oh my God, this can make me more money. And because I now know my role, I know what hat I'm wearing, I know my responsibilities, I know how to be more effective now in making profit. Okay? Because I'm so productive and I manage my time so well and I know who I am and what I do, I am now bringing in more money. Okay? Yes, because eventually you will build teams. So you have to ask yourself, how are you going to teach or show someone what you do for yourself in order to effectively outsource it to them? Okay. So that looks like if you're outsourcing social media, if you usually do that for yourself, you need to have an idea of what that would look like for someone else to do it. You need to write down everything that you do. In every sector of your business, you should be writing out what it is that you do. This is a part of operating and managing a business. You should not be, as I was introducing before we got to this segment, you should not be just literally waking up and working without being strategic. What department are you working in? You should be able to answer that every day. What department am I working in? At any time of the day. Right now, the department I'm working in is coach, because I'm teaching like I love to do. But before this, I was content creator. But I knew what role I was working in. Okay? So this is your homework. We are wrapping up. I have enjoyed teaching you all tonight. These foundational principles, values, truths. Tonight we're on the truth. But I have enjoyed breaking this down for you all. Okay? And y'all know I'm looking back and forth because I have 3 screens here. Don't forget, if you have any questions, drop hashtag Q in the chat and ask your question. I will answer it while we are on live. Okay? And then as well, we have a little bit of extra time, it looks like. So if you have a question that may require me to do like a quick consultation, I will bring you on. If you are, presentable, I'll bring you on the live so that I can do a quick free consultation with you to literally give you a strategy as to what to do next. Or you can put it in the chat, what's going on with you, and I will consult you that way. Okay? So here's your homework. Homework. I want you to create your ideal CEO profile. Not solo entrepreneur, but CEO. Because we should all be working towards the goal of being the CEO. No longer the chief everything officer, but scaling to the point where you officially step into CEO status as the chief executive officer. Not the manager, not the business developer, none of that. Literally the CEO. So this will look like you including the role and responsibilities of that specific role. Whether you want to continue acting as a manager or actively managing some part of the business, or if it'll solely be oversight and vision casting, okay? What you want to make. What do you want to make as a CEO? Okay? What do you want to make as the CEO, not as the worker? What does that look like for you? What do you want to make as a CEO? How do you want to feel? A lot of people say freedom, but what does that freedom look like for you as the CEO of your own company? Facebook, I'm so sorry. My head has been in and out. I solely apologize to you all. Hopefully you've been able to hear me the whole time. How many days do you want to work? Put it all in your CEO profile. Just like if you were building out like talent acquisition. I just want to reference that. That's a human resource type of job. That's the same thing as you having a resume, a profile. When people go out and look for who they want to bring in, they match a certain profile. Same thing with an ideal client or your ideal audience, your target audience. They have a profile. Okay? How many days do you want to work? Where you want to work? So on and so forth. Okay? Okay? So I don't see any questions tonight. Does anyone have an issue that they are currently struggling with that you would like a very simple and strategic answer to get you unstuck tonight? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. While I'm waiting for those, tomorrow is day 2 of Builders Camp, okay? Day 2 of Builders Camp. Tomorrow I'm going in to teach you the prime essentials of work-life balance. And we are going through how to establish boundaries and balance, okay? Boundaries literally directly correlate to policies in your business. Those policies are go into being SOPs, like the refund policy and all of these different policies. Those things are directly correlated. There's more to the policy, but they're also directly correlated to establishing boundaries, okay, for yourself, which also goes into making sure you have a work-life balance, okay? So that is tomorrow. Now, next week, I want everybody to type next week. Next week is Blazing Builders Boot Camp, okay? It's a 3-day intensive business development training, okay, for the educated and equipping of solo entrepreneurs who need to restructure your business without burning yourself out in the process, okay? So if you've ever said the statement, I wish I would have known blank before I started my business, I wish I would have known this, I wish I would have known that, Blazing Builders Bootcamp is for you. If you have been feeling stuck in your business development, you need to go to my bio right now and register for Blazing Builders Bootcamp, okay? Thursday night, I'm coming in hot with business mindset. A huge hindrance in your development. We're going to go through redefining success, okay? Overcoming those limiting beliefs. The silent effects of personal trauma. You will be surprised. The correlation between your personal trauma, your personal life trauma, and the way you show up in your business. And I also added staying in alignment with your vision. It was just 3 parts at first. I had to add that 4th one. I had to. I had to. Because that's a major, major mindset default that you'll be surprised how many people are no longer in alignment with the vision of their business based on mindsets and things they need to overcome. Okay, Friday, business systems. We're going to go through creating productivity plans. I love it. Productivity plans, daily structure, systems that are standardized with processes and procedures, and how to choose tech systems for seamless flow, okay? If you heard me teach before, you know I'm also going to show you the difference between a system and a tech system. They are not the same. A system is literally the structure of how your processes and procedures run. That's an SOP, standard operating procedures. That's a system. These are things you create on your own, right, while you're establishing your business. A tech system is a platform that you implement and automate that will enhance the system that you've already started to create. The processes and the procedures. You should not be going in with multiple free trials on a tech system that you have no clue what it looks like in your business. If you don't know what the process is for incoming clientele, Don't buy a system for it until you write out what it's supposed to look like. I'm about to start teaching what we teaching next week. I'm going to be quiet on that. Come to the boot camp. 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 The last day, all about sustainability. Like I said tonight, you're not just starting a business, you want to remain in business, okay? Those components of a sustainable business. Making decisions for long-term stability. I talked about decisions tonight, okay? I talked about decisions tonight and those risks. You have to make strategic decisions that will benefit you long-term, okay? And then I'm also going to talk about going green, or what is called evergreen, with passive digital sales, okay? I cannot leave that out because that is also a component of establishing a stable, sustainable business that will remain, okay? That even when you don't want to work, because it's going to come a time when you don't want to do no work. You don't want to be a service provider today or this month. But if you don't have no evergreen sales, courses, products online that you literally only have to create one time, and it makes you money all the time. Come on, y'all. Come on. Passive, evergreen. Okay. That's all next week at Blazing Builders Bootcamp. That's 3 days of intensive business development training with me. Okay. You will also receive the bootcamp workbook, a very, very exclusive private community with tech support. Is included in that community. It's through an app, okay? And unlimited replay access, all for $197. We are having another sale, but I want you to go ahead and enroll now because the doors are open and I don't want you to lose your seat, okay? I don't want you to lose your seat. So go ahead to my bio and click the link for Blazing Builders Bootcamp so that you can enroll today. Plus, one lucky student will receive a free 101 strategy session, okay? The details for that are forthcoming, but in order to even get the details, to have a free 101 with me, so bootcamp is group setting. I'm going to be teaching multiple of you at one time, right? That's what the bootcamp is. But in order for you to even be able to get the free 101 session, you have to sign up for bootcamp. You have to, okay? Day 1, business mindset. Day 2, business systems. Day 3, business sustainability. Don't just start it, make it last, okay? Make it last. So this is the conclusion of night 1 of Builders Camp. This is the live at 5, free day teaching, free 5-day teaching. Y'all, I'm messing up now. Time to go, okay? The replay will be available tonight, so immediately after this. For those of you on Instagram and Facebook, don't forget that you will only get the replay for lessons 2 through 5 if you go to my bio and register for free right now. That is the only way you will get the replays for lessons 2 through 5, and also get, the e-guide that came with this free course. Okay, so I will see you all tomorrow again. Live at 5, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you sign up to get all of the extra details. And I will see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? See you tomorrow. I truly do love you guys, and I love teaching you all. And please don't forget to let me know if you have any questions. My DM is open all the time. Okay? So see you tomorrow, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.